Liverpool declares war on Newcastle. Chelsea's new leader. Tottenham will sign Savinho, and Alex Ferguson named the best team he's ever seen, and it's not Manchester United. All of this and more in today's episode. Chelsea and RB Leipzig are discussing a major swap deal. Christopher Nkunku could return to the Bundesliga, while Xavi-Simons moves to Stamford Bridge. After a disappointing season in the Premier League, where Nkunku was constantly injured and failed to secure a regular place in the squad, the Frenchman has openly stated his desire to change clubs. Leipzig, which still hasn't found a replacement for Benjamin Šeško after his move to Manchester United, is ready to bring back Nkunku, their former leader, who scored 70 goals in 172 matches for the Red Bulls. Chelsea, for its part, has long been interested in Xavi-Simons, whom Leipzig values at €70 million. Since a direct swap is not an equal trade, Nkunku is currently valued at around €35 to €46 million. The clubs are discussing a player plus cash format to balance the deal. Simons has already agreed to personal terms with Chelsea, and Nkunku is open to a return to Germany. The only thing that could derail the deal is Nkunku's salary demands, which Leipzig is not prepared to meet without a discount. This is not just a transfer, it's a reset for both players and an interesting shake-up between two clubs looking for a new dynamic in attack. AC Milan is in talks with Manchester United regarding a loan for Rasmus Højlund. The terms under discussion are €6 million for the loan, a €45 million purchase option, and the Italians are willing to fully cover the player's salary. This move seems logical after the official presentation of Benjamin Šeško, who has already been introduced as United's new striker and will be the main option for Ruben Amorim. However, Højlund himself has not yet given the green light. He insists on staying at the club, even after not playing a single minute in the season's opening match. If the player's position does not change, the deal will be stalled. The next 48 hours could be decisive. Alvaro Morata is a Como player. The deal is complete. Galatasaray has agreed to a compensation fee of around €5 million for the early termination of the loan, paving the way for the forward to move to Como. Medical and travel permission are the next steps. Morata will move from AC Milan to Como on a loan with a mandatory purchase option in June 2026 for €10 million. The Spaniard scored 7 goals in 16 matches for Galatasaray, winning the Turkish Championship and Cup, but he is eager to return to Serie A to increase his chances of going to the 2026 World Cup. By the way, Morata wanted only Como from the beginning, despite interest from Fenerbahce and other clubs. The club, led by Cesc Fabregas, is getting a player with vast experience at the spearhead of the attack. Since it's a World Cup season, Jack Grealish has agreed to a loan move to Everton from Manchester City. The 29-year-old winger, who lost his place in City's squad and was excluded from the Club World Cup list, decided to change clubs to get playing time before the big tournament. Everton has opened talks with City for a season-long loan, and Grealish has given his consent to the move. The deal is complicated. City is demanding full coverage of the player's salary, £300,000 a week, as well as an additional loan fee of £10 to £12 million. This makes the transfer one of the most expensive loan deals in Everton's history. The club is ready to compromise to get a star player, whom David Moyes considers key to the new project. Tottenham was also interested in Grealish after Maddison's injury, but did not make a concrete offer, while Everton acted quickly and decisively. Grealish himself chose Merseyside, where he is promised a starting role and full trust. Last season, Jack made only 16 starts, scoring 3 goals and providing 5 assists. His contract with City runs until 2027, but the club is ready to let go of a player who is no longer in Guardiola's plans. Tottenham has started negotiations with Manchester City for the transfer of Savinho. The 21-year-old Brazilian, who spent only 1 season at the Etihad, is open to a move if the clubs can agree on a fee. Thomas Frank personally identified Savinho as a priority target after the loss of Son and Maddison's injury, and he considers him the ideal player for his new project. Last season, he played 48 matches for City, scoring 3 goals and providing 13 assists, adapting to English football and earning a call-up to the Brazil national team. City is not in a hurry to sell, but after the arrival of Ryan Cherki, competition on the wings has increased, and the club is ready to consider an offer. Savinho can play on both wings and centrally, which gives the Spurs tactical flexibility. City is expected to demand £40 to £45 million for the player, which would be a significant profit after his transfer from Troy for £30.8 million last summer. The format of the deal is currently under discussion. A direct transfer is the priority, although although a loan with a mandatory purchase option is also not ruled out, depending on the financial terms. Negotiations are ongoing, and if the deal is closed, Tottenham will get a very interesting player. Manchester City is preparing a major move. Rodrygo could become the new leader of the attack after a wave of departures. After Jack Grealish officially moved to Everton, and with James McAtee and Savinho close to leaving, City is actively looking for reinforcements on the wings. Their main target is Rodrygo from Real Madrid, whom Pep Guardiola has called a dream for his project. The 24-year-old Brazilian has lost his regular place in Real's starting lineup since the arrival of Mbappe and the change in formation by Xabi Alonso. He spent most of the Club World Cup on the bench, and reports have already surfaced in the press that the player is open to a transfer if the clubs reach an agreement. Real Madrid is willing to let Rodrygo go, but is demanding around €100 million, which would make him one of the most expensive transfers in City's history, on par with Grealish and Gvardiol. Rodrygo himself has repeatedly praised Guardiola, calling him a genius, and admitted that matches against City are the most difficult of his career. In Madrid, there is already depth on the wings with Arda Güler, Brahim Diaz, and the young Endrick, so the club is not afraid to lose Rodrygo. For City, this is a chance to acquire a player who can play on both wings and in the centre, has experience in big matches, and is capable of deciding moments on his own. Will Rodrygo become the new face of City's attack? We will soon find out, but negotiations have already begun. Fulham has made a new official offer for the transfer of Brazilian winger Kevin from Shakhtar Donetsk. The English club has offered €37 million plus bonuses, but Shakhtar is insisting on €50 million, considering the 22-year-old Kevin a true gem after his phenomenal start to the season. 4 goals and 2 assists in 3 Europa League qualification matches. Kevin is also attracting interest from Napoli, which can offer Champions League football and a bigger European stage. Fulham, meanwhile, is looking to strengthen its attack after several other transfer targets fell through. Negotiations are ongoing, but Shakhtar is not considering a loan, only a permanent sale. Kevin himself, according to sources, is hesitant about a move to London, waiting for interest from top European clubs. Randall Kolo Muani prefers Juventus over Newcastle. The transfer drama is escalating. The 26-year-old Frenchman spent the second half of last season on loan in Turin, where he scored 10 goals and provided 3 assists in 22 matches. His return to Juventus is a priority for both the club and the player himself. Juventus is in talks with PSG for a loan with a purchase option of €10 million plus €35 million, which could become mandatory upon qualifying for the Champions League. However, the club still needs to sell several players to complete the deal. PSG values Kolo Muani at €50 to €60 million, but is willing to compromise. Newcastle has also opened negotiations, especially after the failed transfer of Benjamin Šeško, but the player himself has had no contact with the English club and has clearly stated his desire to return to Italy. Juventus has set a deadline of August 13th to close the deal or switch to other options. Liverpool has declared war on Newcastle. Isak is seduced, Ekitike has been hijacked, and Wissa is in their sights. Liverpool is no longer just competing, it is methodically dismantling Newcastle's transfer plans and doing it with a cold-blooded approach. It all started with Alexander Isak. The Reds made contact, seduced the Swedish forward with Arne Slot's project, and offered £110 million. And although Newcastle refused, Isak is no longer the same. He submitted a transfer request, refused to train with the team, and even went to Real Sociedad for individual sessions without the club's permission. Sources confirm Isak only wants Liverpool, and his desire is no longer a rumour, but a fact. In response to Newcastle's tough stance, Liverpool went on the offensive. First, they hijacked Hugo Ekitike, whom the Magpies were preparing as a replacement for Isak. Then they approached Jon Wissa, another of Newcastle's transfer targets. And now the Magpies risk being left without all three. Isak is isolated, Ekitike is already at Liverpool, and Wissa is on the verge of a move. This is no longer just a transfer summer, it's open humiliation on live TV. Newcastle is losing key players, and Liverpool is playing chess while the Magpies are playing checkers. Eddie Howe is trying to smooth things over, but he himself admits he is not in control of the process and cannot bring Isak back to the team. If this continues, Newcastle will start the season without strikers, without a plan, and without hope, and Liverpool, with a smile on their face, will continue their transfer vendetta. So now at St James's Park, the alarm level is red. Newcastle is in a panic and desperately looking for a striker so as not to start the season with only Wilson and an empty bank of ideas. The club is now considering two last hopes, Nicholas Jackson from Chelsea and Agahova Omoridin from Porto. The Senegalese Jackson is already training separately, was excluded from the squads for matches against Bayern and Milan, and has openly stated that he wants to move to Newcastle. The club is ready to activate the deal, but Chelsea is demanding at least €76 million, and competitors are already monitoring the situation. Jackson has fallen out of rotation after the arrival of Delap and João Pedro, and he wants regular playing time, exactly what Eddie Howe can provide. In parallel, the Magpies are considering Agahova Omoridin, a 21-year-old Spaniard who scored 27 goals last season. His release clause is €100 million, and although Newcastle has not yet made an official offer, the player is at the top of Howe's list. But Porto does not want to sell, and Agahova himself is focused on trophies, not money. He knows about the interest, but is fully focused on the Primera Liga campaign. The situation is escalating. Jackson wants to move, but is expensive. Agahova is promising, but complicated. Isak is on his way out, and the atmosphere in the locker room is toxic. The fans are in shock, and Howe is in survival mode. Newcastle still has time, but every day without a new forward is a step toward disaster. And if the club doesn't close at least one of these deals, the start of the season will look like a horror movie. Alex Ferguson has named the best team he has ever seen, and it's not Manchester United. The legendary Manchester United coach Alex Ferguson recalled the 2011 Champions League final, where his team lost 1-3 to Barcelona, and it was that Barca that he named the best team he ever had to play against. The team that impressed me the most was that Barcelona team we met at Wembley in the 2011 Champions League final. They were unplayable, Ferguson said. In that match, Pep Guardiola's Barca demonstrated total control, brilliant play from Messi, Xavi and Iniesta, and left United with no chance. It was a team that didn't just win, it dominated, and even Ferguson admitted, "We couldn't do anything." And now a question for you, my friends. Which team, in your opinion, is the best in the history of football? Write your legendary answers in the comments. That's it for now. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share this video. Keep watching for more football action and have a wonderful day.